Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Sustainable Scoop. Here at the Arlington Weekly News, we are always talking about various issues in the area with regards to sustainability. But my guest today, Andrea Jacobs, is here visiting us from the Caribbean, Antigua and Barbuda. And you are working with the United Nations Environmental Program. And I want to hear a little bit about what brought you to the United States and the projects you're working on.
Hi, thank you for having me, Miriam. Yes, so I won a scholarship from the United Nations. So I'm the first inaugural fellow from the United Nations to attend the Georgetown Law University to pursue a master's in environmental and energy law.
And so you are dedicated to the practice of looking into these environmental issues internationally, and then the research that you're doing could affect people locally.
Yes, indeed. So I don't know if you know that I'm from an area in the Caribbean that is very low-lying, and 2 years ago, Antigua and Barbuda was decimated by the hurricane, totally wiped out because of the adverse impacts of climate change. So environmental law and environmental policies, it means a lot to me.
Well, but because you have a background in law, you're more than just somebody who's sitting at the table sharing ideas. You're negotiating change. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that climate change can really inadvertently affect families and children and women who are basically the backbone of their communities, much more so than men. Why is that?
Because, first of all, many people don't understand how climate change can affect them, particularly women and vulnerable children, older people, people who live in places that are close to the water. So, for example, like Louisiana in the United States, the territorial USA, such as San Juan, Puerto Rico, where they too was decimated by the hurricane. And because we don't understand it, we don't know how to prepare for it adequately. So we find that when something catastrophic happens, like a hurricane, that is when we're trying to find solutions for things that are happening on the ground. As we could see, we saw it in Texas, we saw it in Puerto Rico, we saw it in the Caribbean, we also saw it in Louisiana.
And women are the ones that provide food and water to their families. They take care of the elderly. And yet, in so many situations, they don't have a voice when these devastating things happen, and they're not given the resources. So how does your work in resource management and reducing the but also creating a system that gets this plastic out of the oceans and perhaps creates opportunities work with the UN?
So with the UN, we are an all-inclusive entity organization. So we have a branch called United Nations Women, and they try from the very grassroots levels to get non-profit organizations involved in decision making. So if women become decision makers, they're more informed and they can better make decisions for their family and make decisions moving up. So from the bottom up.
Because they're giving them the opportunity to rebuild. So from the bottom up, they can do things sustainably in a way that could promote growth in their community. What countries would you say are taking the biggest steps towards empowering women on issues that are affecting the environment?
So I would say right now, I would definitely say the U.S. is one of the biggest ones.
That is good to hear.
Yes, whether or not we understand it, the U.S., I would also say Africa.
Oh, yes.
Europe, and definitely the Caribbean. I'm from the Caribbean, so I have to give them a shout out.
Oh, well, of course, the island nations and Latin America.
Yes.
I asked Ralph Nader when I interviewed him a while back about what provisions we're making for climate refugees in this country. Where will we take settlements? And will Mexico take us if we need a settlement? And he laughed so hard. We're behind the 8 ball now, right?
Right.
We're not really prepared.
We're not. And truth be told, we do not have any legislation or any protocol for climate change refugees. And whether or not we'll get one in the future, we don't know. But the situation, it needs to be looked into, because at some point, we all might become climate change refugees.
So what is your goal? I know you're headed back home for a
Yes.
little while, but what is your goal, and how do people reach out to you to support you?
So my goal is basically to keep educating the masses, to be a voice for the voiceless, to be an advocate for good laws, and we need to follow the laws, building codes. Very, very important. Don't build near to the waterfront. If the law says there's a setback, follow the setback, because there's a reason why there's a setback.
But I want people to know how to reach you. So how do they get in touch with you?
So my email address is ayjacobs@me.com.
Excellent. And now you're going to have to come back, because we're going to talk about plastic pollution. Specifically, I'd like your thoughts on styrofoam when you come back.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the work you're doing. We're all so grateful around the world. And to your fellow environmentalists and activists, please send them our best.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And I want to thank all of you for watching this very special edition of the Sustainable Scoop. Now, back to the news desk.